I think we have to be very clear, even to the point of being blunt. By we, I mean those of us involved who are conscious of being part of an information war, the propaganda war that we are recipients of on the receiving end of all of this tsunami of crap. But we have to say things flat out without fear and without compromise. This is a U.S. war on Russia, period. Now, why do we have to say this? Why should we say it so bluntly? The propaganda matrix is so powerful that people, especially within the bubble, that is within what people call NATOstan. This is the civilized world, 15% of the human population, the West. People are so confused and so propagandized that it's almost as if they have no sense of pattern recognition or have never read a chapter book. This is a war, a U.S. war against Russia. Why? Because the U.S. is NATO. What is NATO? NATO is a horribles parade costume. It's a Halloween mask. It's just the U.S. The extension of the U.S. military around the world by another name, pure and simple. Now, when you find all of these things that they're finding, all of the material, all of the connections, and the proof that NATO is much more involved than they claim, you see, the U.S. is involved. This is the extension of the U.S. Again, why? Because the U.S. is at war with everybody. The U.S. is involved in its forever war against everybody and everything. Sometimes the mask slips and people see it, but they hide behind proxies. They hide behind local conflicts. They make it seem like they are doing something else, but they are involved. The United States empire, the inheritors of the UK empire, so the Anglo-US empire, is involved in a struggle to keep things as they are. They are in the very last throes, the death throes, I think, of a 500-year history of slaughter and plunder that has kept all of the wealth in the world funneling upwards to them. And the question is not can they do it, but why can't they see that it's a completely impossible thing? This is a war against time, against history. Think of the arrogance, the unimaginable arrogance that it takes to think that you can freeze time. Why are they going to fail? Because no empire has succeeded in freezing time. You're done. It's over. Leave the stage politely with a gracious bow and support what's coming next. But no, the unspeakable hubris that it takes not only to try to shape the development of life, but to stop it. And this is how you know that they are at work. They're at work in Ukraine, but that's not enough. While they're doing that, they have to try to overthrow Imran Khan in Pakistan. They have to go and threaten Modi in India not to pay too much in rubles with Russia, not to have too much ruble shenanigans, because we don't like that, right? They try to threaten Orban in Hungary by having the EU point out that there's erosion of democracy, and Orban's great crime is to say he's going to be closer to Russia. Same with Vucic in Serbia. You know, these are people who are increasingly not going to be cowed. Now, I don't know exactly why within the bubble, why people are so malleable. I mean, it's really incredible how susceptible people are in the Western so-called democracies, where the news is so censored and so filtered that it's a wonder that they know anything at all. And they have this farce. They are pumping up support for this chapter of the forever war, which they call the Ukraine war, by advertising it in award shows. They have Zelensky prostituting himself by appearing at the Grammys, right? They National Gallery changes the title of Degas' work to say the Ukrainian dancers instead of the Russian dancers, to all the stuff I've talked about before, about boycotts on Russian vodka, what have you, whatever. And they are so deep in this is inside the bubble, that you cannot talk about any of the real things that are happening. Yes, there are Nazis. Yes, there are Nazis. How do we know? Because the U.S. has been working with them since the 40s, with their parents and their grandparents. There's no secret about this. Even these liberal intellectuals and so-called politically conscious and interested types would have admitted this. This was not controversial. A year or two ago, there were articles everywhere about the Nazi problem in Ukraine, about using the Nazis. Again, we come back to pattern recognition. Why are they so surprised? Why is it a shock? Somoza was a Nazi. Chile Pinochet was a Nazi. They always use these people as their proxies. Why would Ukraine be any different? Maybe it's because denazification was never really finished in Germany to begin with. They didn't really like it too much the first time around because it defeating communism became more important. Nazi schmatzi. We took Werner von Braun, which Tom Lehrer wrote a song about, even. The denazification, say, in Bavaria, 75% of the Nazis identified were rehabilitated, and they formed the CSU, which was part of the basis for Adenauer's first government. It was never taken seriously, and there were always greater threats. Communism was a greater threat. Why was there a Red Scare in the U.S., but the German Bund was allowed to have its goose-stepping 25,000 strong at Madison Square Garden? We've always known which side they were on. They were never serious about it, and they're not serious now. So what is interesting is how the rest of the world, right? Because they have never been stupid about any of this. Europeans love to talk about the Cold War. We're going to have another Cold War. Well, it wasn't that cold. Ask the people in Vietnam whether it was cold or hot, right? Laos, Cambodia, Myanmar, or Honduras, Nicaragua, Guatemala, El Salvador, Argentina that disappeared, Chile, And then in Uganda, Algeria, all Rwanda, these divisions that were sown by the empire, Angola, Mozambique, South Africa itself, the Congo, with the King Leopold's murderous reign, and the NATO's role in killing Lumumba, Palestine. I mean, seriously, are these people serious? This is why when people ask, why are we so sanguine? Not only when we say it's a U.S. war against Russia, U.S. war against the world, why then are we also sanguine that they will lose these forces that are trying to stop time? And it comes back to all the same philosophers that Dr. King quoted, William Cullen Bryant, saying that the truth crushed the earth will rise again, or Thomas Carlyle, no lie can live forever. All these things are still true. Ukraine is NATO, is the U.S. The Africans know it. The Indians know it. The Chinese know it. South Americans, Central Americans know it. This is 85% of humanity. The American empire is in a war against humanity. So how are we so sure? How do I, when I hear about the particulars, you have to zoom in every once in a while. So I hear about the Mariupol so-called maternity hospital being bombed. I say, I don't know. I'll wait and see. Boom. The model is interviewed later and says, no, it was shelled by Ukrainians. The Ghost of Kiev, I'm not sure. It turns out to be a video game, right? The Snake Island heroes who died so heroically yet wound up being videotaped later on, having surrendered. Zaporozhye power plant, which that turned out not to be true. This current massacre where bodies are sitting up and waving at the camera, this is, you have to wait, because they've always used these tricks. It's not new. Pattern recognition. The next chapter. Look ahead. Kind of sneak a peek at the cliff notes if you want to stay sane and stay alive. And then you have the people involved who want us to feel guilty. The pressure to be anti-Russia on the people inside the West. Now, outside, people are a little bit freer to push back against that hubris, having been NATO's victims, having been subjects of the hot side of the Cold War. They're not fooled. And they will just tell NATO and the U.S., as my father said, to take a long walk off a short pier, right? It is absolutely clear, and we have to present it as clear. And to quote an Afro-Russian poet, Pushkin, "Мне как ясно, как простая гамма." This is as clear to me as a simple sum. And we have to stay strong, keep our eyes on the fight of our lives, the lives of humanity, and the life of the whole